have a game this weekend, I heard.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
talk about
ready for this one.
No, yeah, it is. It says Justin.
No, it's Justin Brindley.
No, it's Justin. It's Justin Pike. Anyways, Justin Brindley will be playing the role of Justin Pike.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that low of an IQ to do that one.
I got absolutely zero notes on this one. I'm sure there's probably been a bunch of messages flying back and forth about it, but I didn't see very much today. I've been busy. Yeah, we got a game to talk about, y'all.
Really? Have you looked at the stats?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have. What do the stats say? I also looked at tarot cards, and tarot cards and stats mean just about the same thing going into a game like this.
They do.
I mean, seriously, there is because there's not only is this a conference rivalry, but there is so much at stake in this one game that both teams are going to be preparing for.
This is a respect game because both teams respect each other.
No, we don't respect Florida anymore. We stopped doing that like years ago. In fact, we were just talking about that a moment ago.
The Bama players have already come out talking.
They're supposed to say that. Now we get to pay our players openly, so we pay them to say that. We pay them to say all these nice things about all these other
our players have come out and they've been respectful. When
like
normally, if it was Georgia, we would have already, you guys would have already dug a hole and buried them. There's a respect there. We gave y'all the name Crimson Tide. You have to. There's respect. It goes back years.
Is this you basically begging the Bama fan base for mercy when we beat that ass this Saturday?
No.
I mean, that's what it kind of sounds like. I'm just throwing that out there.
I respect most Bama fans. Like, you guys might be the only SEC team that I have respect for, other than Vandy, just because I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I mean, and there's two I've only seen one. Really, Jared Rifkin is the only Vanderbilt fan, and he's a huge, massive Commodores fan. But that's it. That fan base is completely just absent.
Yeah, and so I have anyone that can cheer for that, I have respect. Yeah. So
I think Saturday what happens is they go into the swamp. They go and take care of business because they're on a mission this year. They're on a mission to go back to back. They have they have all the intangibles from week one to be the champions again this year. They're just poised for it, and that's what I see in them.
Well, Justin, let me play devil's advocate for a moment, because what's going to happen if Alabama goes in with that same, as Nick Saban refers to it, rat poison in the back of their minds that, we are the more dominant team. What does Alabama need to look out for in this game as far as what Florida's defense in particular is going to have to offer?
Choose.
Complacency.
Choose.
If we get
Choose.
Fucking shit.
Yeah,
I thought you said something about respect a minute ago, and here we are going with that shit.
But I mean, to be honest, I'm just throwing it out. I mean, it might be helmets this week because AR's got tossed on, last weekend. We might throw that in this week because it happened to us and no flag was thrown, so we might throw that in this week because shit, you never know.
What are the Vegas odds that Florida will mysteriously come down with COVID in the next 48 hours?
Not going to happen. We had players come back just for this game.
So they went ahead and they have COVID, but they were like, no, fuck COVID. We're going to come and play this game.
Yeah, but we had players that didn't go into the draft because they wanted to play Bama. A lot of these guys have wanted this game.
That's ridiculous. Now, why would they forsake a guaranteed career in the NFL just for the chance to get beaten by Alabama one more time?
Because they don't.
That is a valid point.
That's sad. That's like the saddest thing I've ever heard. That's like an Auburn fan. That's some Auburn fan shit.
It is, but think about the SEC championship. There was, even as a fan, we didn't think we even had a chance to keep it as close as we kept it.
Your main
Those
offense
guys came
was
out.
come through Kyle Pitts and come through a couple of your other big time wide receivers. I seen it last year. The only reason why y'all stayed in big games and kept on winning was basically because of your tight end play and wide receiver play.
But we have the same thing coming in this year. We have Pierce, but we have more coming in with our core players coming in this year. We have these young guys showing up, random players you've never even heard of. Wells Jr. Come on. That's making plays that are insane.
Well, and the one thing that
Pierce,
excited me about
saw
Florida last year was the fact that Florida was really very defensive minded, particularly earlier in the season. I know as the season progresses and we have injuries and things like that, and of course we live in the day and age of COVID, so you never know who's going to be out of a game. But I really feel like Florida's defense is going to be the intangible that's going to decide this contest one way or the other. At least figure if it's going to be a close contest at all.
What we've seen with Florida, and yeah, we played 2 pushover teams, USF and FAU. But what we've seen with our defense that we didn't see last season is we actually could stop a 3rd down conversion. We couldn't do that last year at all.
That was difficult in some spots that it really did not need to go down the way that it did.
Something we couldn't do last year is give our quarterbacks time. Our O-line stepped up this year big time.
Are we going to see something different than what we've seen in the first 2 games? Florida is a rushing team now. This is one of the top rushing teams in the country right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You think that's what we're going to see in the Alabama game, or do you think that they just...
Well, we noticed last week, coming towards the end of the game, in the 3rd and 4th, he started letting Richardson throw. We saw him. He put up 250 some yards passing.
Yeah, that's my.
You do realize there is a bunch of future DBs and a bunch of future NFL safeties in that Alabama back end. So the difference between who you faced the last 2 weeks and what you're going to be facing Saturday is going to be an animal that I don't think these 2 young QBs can handle.
That's something that you also don't know if your defense is going to be able to handle that fast pace coming from these quarterbacks. We're not playing slow-paced football that Florida has played for the last 10 years. We are playing fast-paced football. This is not
on
normal.
their passing game, because if Florida's not going to be able to run on a consistent nature against a Nick Saban team. That just doesn't happen historically. And, I know that we laugh and joke and you can throw the stats out the window, but come on now. We're talking about running against Nick Saban. That just does not happen.
Really showed what Richardson could do in the last 2 quarters.
The day that I can see a Florida coach, or a day that I can see a Florida QB take down a Nick Saban team, I'll shave my whole entire head of hair off.
Well, you've
seen
already
that
done
before.
That before.
We've seen that before. That's not. You got to shave your nuts or something. Will you shave your nuts? Shave your nuts and send us a Polaroid.
And guess what? Those were Mullen's freaking quarterbacks. You've seen Mullen's quarterbacks do that to Bama.
But we've seen Justin Brindley.
Not just Florida's quarterbacks.
So, I mean, this is not like a really good bet.
Like, honestly, you've seen Dan Mullins, not just Florida's quarterbacks. You've seen Dan Mullins. You've seen Cam Newton do it. You've seen Dak Prescott do it. You've seen T-Goat do it. You've seen Leak do it. You have seen Dan Mullins quarterbacks do it.
Yeah.
And you're getting ready to see another Dan Mullen quarterback do it tomorrow.
Maybe,
maybe not. Who knows?
Okay, so Justin, how do you see this going down, and give us a score prediction?
I'll say around 44 to maybe 21.
Ooh.
44-21 Bama, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry, Nikki Mays.
Uh-huh.
Give us your prediction.
I have a bet with Sean, and I predicted 34-28 Florida.
28 Florida for Nikki Mays. All right.
I think Nikki's score is probably going to be closer. I really do. I think this might actually be settled by a touchdown, and I think it's going to be one of those games that the first 1 to 30 wins.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think it's going to be close. I do think it's going to be close. I've been nervous about it all week, and I didn't think I was going to be, but I have been, and it's a good nervous.
I have
for
to
me,
be
'cause
honest.
I'm ready for good football.
I
want
don't have
good
a feel for
football.
this game, and I really don't. I don't know why. The jury's out on Florida, like I was saying about the stats
We
earlier.
don't really know who Florida is. I mean, really, there's nothing you could have learned in those 2 games other than the fact that Florida is still, has the talent to beat the teams that they're supposed to week in and week out.
Well, they're running the ball a lot. I really think that Dan Mullen intentionally not running what he's going to run against Alabama early on. And that's what has me concerned. But, I mean, I don't really have a feel for it. It wouldn't shock me if Alabama wins by a lot of points. It wouldn't shock me if it's close. None of these would have.
The only thing we've seen is that he released Richardson in the 3rd and 4th of the USF game just so that we could see that he has the arm. Other than that, I don't think he was really allowing our players to show what they could do.
No, that's what
and nor did he have to against either team. I mean, even Central Florida, which is, somewhat of a decent, capable program. I mean, they're no match for the talent that's rolling through Florida these days.
Not Central Florida, it was South Florida, I think.
Yeah,
Or South Florida. That's what I'm saying. I mean, who cares? Gus Malzahn, that other guy, who cares?
Hey, the White Knights, they would be pissed if they heard that you got them mixed up with the Bulls.
Did you hear that UCF that Gus Malzahn was actually being rumored to be headed to USC? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's a little funny.
Let me tell you what that was about. That was Gus Malzahn going ahead and trying to bump his next raise down there.
That was Tiggy started that. Tiggy started that rumor. I'll bet your ass.
There is no way that USC contacted Gus Malzahn.
No, I think Urban's already looking. It's like,
that's possible.
I mean, really, that does not shock me at all. If Urban Meyer were to jump back in college football,
Tebow can still use his last year eligibility.
Good luck to both of you guys with this game.
Thank you.
But roll Tide,
Thank
more
you.
importantly.
roll tide,
roll.
Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast. Smacking off the podcast's Battle of the Gurus.
We got number 2, Dr. Balls, going up against number 15 seed, Dane Kelley. How y'all doing?
What's up?
Living the dream.
There you
Coming
go.
to you live from Miami, Florida.
All right.
Miami, Florida. Ooh, very nice. How's the weather in Miami, Florida this evening?
It's beautiful.
Are there bunches of scantily clad women just cavorting about your domicile?
Oh my God, yes, of course.
Yeah, I know how you do it. I know how you live large.
Yeah. Hey, put your titties away.
That's right. Where do you go to?
You talking to me? No, there's no way I'm ever going to get dressed for one of these segments ever.
Nebraska at Oklahoma back in the day was a huge fucking game.
Oh wow, yeah.
And now we're going to have to try to talk people into getting interested in this shit.
Yeah, because we already know who's going to win this game, right?
Where is the game being played?
It's played.
Does it matter?
Nebraska's going to Oklahoma.
They could play that in a parking lot at a 7-Eleven outside of Chicago, and the outcome would be the same.
Oh, I agree. But it was a great game back in the day, guys. I mean, I liked Nebraska a little bit because I love power football and I admired them, but I couldn't give them any credit like now. I don't give Oklahoma no credit. But in this case, Oklahoma's going to crush them utterly. That's my pick.
You know, and I really feel like this is, and I hate to even say, it's almost like a cliche to even say this term, but this is kind of almost needs to be a statement win for Lincoln because, quite frankly, everybody's talking about everybody else in the national conversation right now except for Oklahoma. And maybe for good reason, I don't know.
You got a pick on this one, Dane?
Yeah, man, I've got Nebraska getting absolutely fucking slaughtered.
Cincinnati at Indiana. That's number 8 Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's an interesting game.
In Bloomington, huh? I think I'm gonna have to go with Indiana. Give me Indiana.
All right.
For the upset.
All right. Bob?
I wanted to pick Indiana because I love the underdogs, but I think Cincy's going to beat them. I think IU's roster's turned over too much. It'll be another 3 or 4 years they can do what they did last year.
All right. Virginia Tech, and I believe, are they ranked? Yeah, that's number 15, Virginia Tech, at West Virginia.
Well, that's an interesting one.
That is.
Is that a trap game?
I would say that's a trap game. Give me West Virginia with the upset.
Oh, Dane Kelley coming out with the big balls.
That's a nice pick, but I got to go with Virginia Tech. I think they've looked confident and solid. I'm going to pick him.
I love it.
All right. Speaking of Miami, Sparty's coming down, and Michigan State takes on Miami.
I just don't trust Miami.
Number 24, Miami. How is that even still possible,
I don't trust Miami. Whoever they're playing, give me them. 1
vote for Sparty from Dane.
I got to go with Sparty, too. I don't think that the coach – I don't believe this coach is the answer at Miami. He's got players, and they've got a decent scheme, but there's no self-discipline. They shoot each other in the foot all the time, shoot themselves in the foot all the time. You can't count on them. So I'm going Sparty.
All right. Purdue goes to South Bend to play the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
I'm just going to get it out of the way. I think Notre Dame wins this game.
Again, another team in the need of a statement win right now because a lot of folks are soft on Notre Dame after some, 2 close performances, one of which should probably not have been as close as it was.
Yeah, Notre Dame's fucking trash. Give me Purdue.
Really? You're serious?
Ooh.
I am serious.
Dane, you're throwing this, aren't you, Dane?
Dane's got some dark magic weaving right now, buddy. Dane's going 10-0. I
think that's an interesting pick, to be honest with you. And I thought about picking Purdue because I love upsets. Because if you really look at Notre Dame offensively, the only thing they're really bringing back is the tight end. I mean, that seems to be producing. I don't really know who Notre Dame is this year. I just picked them because they're at home, but I'm staying with it.
I don't think Notre Dame knows who Notre Dame is this year.
Yeah. So that's what I'm seeing.
All right, we've got number 1, Alabama, traveling to number 11, Florida.
11. Give me Alabama big.
Tide. I got the Tide myself. I got to agree with him.
Robert. All right.
Doug, we're both Alabama fans. Do you really see this as being a one-sided affair?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Florida definitely recruits well. So it's not going to shock me if Alabama goes down there and spins their tires a little bit. I don't know.
Florida to lose. But I want Florida to lose, right, because of our impending collision with Kentucky, right?
Right.
I'd love them to be down 1 game in the SEC when they show up at Commonwealth Stadium. So
y'all can take sole possession of second?
It'd be first because right now we played 1 more division game than Georgia.
All right, this is an interesting one. In my opinion. Everybody else may not share my opinion. Tulane goes to Ole Miss, and this is not a bad Tulane team.
Yeah, this is a really almost an even matchup here.
Could be.
I'm going to be a nut, and I'm going to pick Tulane. I'm going to take a chance. Something tells me Tulane's going to win, so I'm picking it.
Not riding the lane train. I love it.
Ole Miss and Tulane?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, man, give me Ole Miss. Come on.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
Robert. I'm riding the Tulane train, goddammit.
Yep, the hell with it.
You're riding the green wave.
I am. Here's another interesting game. We may not know a lot about this team because it's a West Coast team, but Fresno goes to UCLA.
Well, Jay Fields thinks Fresno State's going to win that game.
I think Chip Kelly's got her going on down there in UCLA, so.
Yeah. There's probably a loss or two on UCLA's horizon, but I mean, I really have a hard time believing this is. I'm not saying that Fresno's going to play them down to the wire, because Fresno's playing some pretty decent ball this season.
I mean, they damn near beat Oregon the week before they went over and beat Ohio State. So
I actually watched part of that game, and Fresno State impressed me. I mean, there wasn't no gadgets. They were in the game because they were in the game. You know what I'm trying to say?
Robert?
I got to pick UCLA.
Okay. All right. The Sun Devils of Arizona State, which they are ranked number 19, are headed to number 23, Brigham Young.
I got BYU.
Give me Arizona State before the NCAA comes in and does not bring the hammer down on them.
One game left. And this is the game of the day, in my opinion. I don't know why. This game interests me more than Alabama going to Florida. Because I've never seen it before. Auburn goes to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions.
This is a good game, y'all. This is, and I really, I'm gonna wait for everybody to talk on this one, but I think this one's gonna be a little bit of a surprise for folks.
Yeah, I think Tank Bigsby wears Penn State out, and Auburn takes it home. I got Auburn.
Dang.
Give me Penn State, man. Give me Penn State. I think they need to. I think Franklin will get him. He's going to have him back on track this year.
Okay, so I don't know what the mathematical possibilities are here with y'all's picks, but a tie is always possible. So we've got a tiebreaker here. The way we do the tiebreaker is whoever gets closest without going over wins, unless you both go over, and then it's whoever's closest. And the question is, how many points will Oklahoma score this week?
I'm going to say
Prediction.
72 points.
72 points for Dane and Oklahoma. Robert?
I've got 51.
All right. So if it's anywhere between 51 and 72, Robert's got this because Dane's overshot.
But I'm going to be 10-0, so it won't matter. Sorry, Kokang.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all part of my rock and roll fantasy.
All right. May the force be with both of you guys.
Thank you so
and
much.
Also with you, sir. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll talk to y'all later.
Later, guys.
Smacking Off the Podcast would like to invite you to stream the podcast weekly at one of our streaming platforms. You can find us at facebook.com/smackology. Also at the Smacking Off the Podcast Facebook page, just search it on Facebook. You can also find our latest podcast episodes at youtube.com/c/smackingoffthepodcast. Tune in each Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern for a new episode.
Today in college football history.
38 years ago today, number 4 Notre Dame lost at home 28-23 to unranked Michigan State. This loss began a downtrend on a season that started with a top 5 ranking, but ended with 5 losses. This was a pattern that would repeat consistently under Irish coach Jerry Faust, until he was fired at the end of the 1985 season.
Stream it like a pro with VidGo. 95 plus channels, $10 for the first month, and only $55 a month after that. Go to smackology.life/VidGo to order VidGo today. VidGo TV is compatible with Amazon Fire TV devices, Apple TV, Android phones and tablets, Android smart TVs, Apple phones and tablets, Roku streaming devices, and web browsers on laptops and PCs.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno d'intorno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor. Delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor.
Welcome college football fans to another weekly installment of
Congratulations, you lost.
And your team sucks, don't you know? Please welcome our resident psychology ST Timothy Bailey.
The first coach this week that deserves quite a bit of criticism is Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell has the better roster, full of more NFL talent. And for some reason against Iowa, he can't get his team not to turn the football over. And many of them are unforced turnovers. Dropping a ball into the lap of a linebacker. You're, the best running back in the country, not even having the ball hit by the defender and fumbling the football. You can live with the last interception pretty through where a guy just makes a crazy athletic play and bats a ball down and it's picked. I mean, that's just part of football. But like the reason why Iowa beat Iowa State was simply because of turnovers. Iowa only had 168 yards of offense, nearly 200 less than Iowa State. Iowa State was able to run the ball pretty effectively. If you take away the sacks, they averaged over 5 yards per carry. And instead of just running the football when your offensive line was winning the battle at the line of scrimmage, they continued to throw, continued to turn the football over, and they just made a mess out of the game. Iowa State's still a very good football team, and Iowa is as well. Iowa, I put them in my top 4 this week. And both of these football teams are very good, and both have chances to win their conference. But at the end of the day, Matt Campbell needs to get over the hump against this team. Because this is the third time in a row where I felt he's had the advantage in terms of the personnel, and he hasn't gotten the job done.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Iowa has crawled into his head a little bit. It seems like maybe he gets a little too emotional and it spills over to the players. I don't know. I've seen it before, though. I've seen coaches that could not beat another program or another coach for whatever reason, even though they had the better team.
Cooper comes to mind in the 90s with Ohio State. They could have been a dynasty in the 90s, and they were not because of Michigan kept beating them, for example. That's a good example, but obviously a little bit of a higher level there. Of course, we've been talking about Ohio State and Michigan. But yeah, no, I thought it was a pretty inexcusable loss. And then the other thing is, special teams wasn't great. You miss a field goal, and that's been a recurring issue. You give up. You don't really do well in the punt game. You don't do well covering punts. The field position battle was won all day in the kicking game by Iowa as well. And while that was an expected advantage for Iowa, at the end of the day, this is a recurring theme for Iowa State: giving up punt return touchdowns, kick return touchdowns, field position, missing field goals. Special teams has not improved under Matt Campbell pretty much ever. And that's a big problem.
It definitely was this week, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. And it was also the reason why they lost to Louisiana Lafayette last year. They gave up a punt return for a touchdown and a kick return for a touchdown in that game. So the next coach is Clay Helton, and he's dealt with a lot of BS at USC, and so I have not necessarily defended him, but I've been like, he might be as bad as people think, but we've got to find out. Well, we found out on Saturday because Stanford was a team that was shut out by Kansas State until their final possession, and they scored a meaningless touchdown and lost to Kansas State 24-7 at home. And then the week after, they come out and they woodshed USC, a team that has NFL prospects growing out of the grass, literally growing out of the grass there in
in Los Angeles. Clay Helton is obviously not a fit there for USC. Obviously, he and his teams have a difficulty of preparing and living up to the expectations that are rightfully high at USC because they are a dormant power program. Clay Helton's going to have to get fired because unless he wins the rest of his games this year, and I mean all of them, he needs to go. I don't care if he's 10-2. I don't care if he's 11-2. You can't lose by 20 points to Stanford. After all the things that you've done to be on the hot seat to begin with, you just don't have any room for error. And it's not like Stanford has better players or like this was a comparable game and they just got tough.
At home as well, so.
Yeah, absolutely. A home loss to an inferior opponent by double I mean, it was awful. It was absolutely pathetic. It was to me the worst showing of the weekend. And to be honest, not taught by anything. I mean, that's just not a game that we should lose. So the last one's going to be Steve Sarkisian. That was one of those kind of losses that you just can't take at the University of Texas. You can't accept a loss like that. You're playing an inferior opponent in Arkansas who, by all accounts, is going to get better under Sam Pittman, and it's a great win for his program. So let's not distract from that. Arkansas is heading in the right direction, and I've been a proponent of saying that to be the case before this game even began, before this season even began. But the problem here is that Texas is number 4 in the country in blue chip rate. And what is blue chip rate? It's where you have more 4 or 5 star prospects in comparison to 3-star or under prospects. Texas has more. Texas's plus 23, which puts them at number 4 in the country behind only Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and they're tied with LSU at 4th. The talent at Texas is so great that literally half their roster is blue chip prospects. There's one thing to maybe even lose this game potentially. It's a road game. Road games have obviously been more difficult for teams this year after, not having any road games the previous year. I think home field advantage has been pretty big for a lot of these teams, and I think, anybody who's been even a casual observer can see that the home teams have pretty good advantage this year, maybe even more so than normal at the beginning.
I mean, I expected it to be a competitive game, and I thought Arkansas would have a shot to win, but nobody thought that Arkansas was going to boat race Texas.
No. And then you wait until the game's over to pull Hudson Card, who was playing awful, by the way. And you have a guy in Casey Thompson who is a good quarterback because he showed it in the bowl game against Colorado. I don't know if people forget, but Sam Ehlinger got hurt last year against Colorado in their bowl game, and Casey Thompson stepped in, went 8 of 10 for 4 touchdowns in that game. I mean, you can't really even play better than that.
So tell me, if you were doing a coach this week that won to put on this list, would Jimbo Fisher be at the top of your list?
I would say so, yeah. Not as strong as, say, last week with Lincoln Riley, just because, I've seen that same episode with Lincoln Riley so many times. That's just infuriating. And I'm also an OU fan, and I hate seeing that same scenario play out where you just beat the hell out of a team and stop playing. But Jimbo Fisher, listen, my expectations for Texas A&M are different. I don't expect Texas A&M to be a 9-1 team and contend for the SEC West pretty much ever, and they shouldn't be a team that does that.
Right.
However, I've given Texas A&M a lot of flack because they're trying to tell me this team is top 10 or top 5 and that I'm insane for thinking otherwise. And I'm like, they weren't even that good last year, and this team is nowhere near as talented or experienced as last year's team.
Oh, definitely agreed.
So, when I watch a team, if you were a betting person, I said the 2 easiest picks last week were Texas -7 and Colorado plus 17. I was obviously wrong about the Texas one. Forgive me for thinking a team that hasn't been able to stop the run for 3 years could just like stonewall, a top 5 running back in college football, and supposedly the top play caller in college football, according to some. By the way, not a lot of people realize this, but there was never a single game under Tom Herman with Texas where he accumulated less yardage and less yardage than what was accomplished by Sark on Saturday.
I got you.
It was one of the he had a game where he had less points. That 10-13 overtime loss to Oklahoma State, I believe, was that one. But absolutely abysmal performance again by Texas. I mean, also if you're a player, you take a lot of blame in that game too. I mean, how do you not play passionate? I mean, and on the other note, kudos to Arkansas again for being so passionate and wanting to win that game. I think the commentator put it perfectly when he said that down here in this area, these old Southwestern Conference teams hate Texas more than they like themselves, and that's absolutely accurate.
I think I actually heard that. That was funny. It's true. It is true. It's funny because it's true. I got a couple games I want to ask you about this week that are coming in under the radar, in my opinion. Tulane going to Ole Miss, first off.
Yeah, I actually think this could be a tough game for Ole Miss because Tulane, Tulane gained a lot of confidence in their game in Norman, and they have a quarterback that's tough as nails. And I think Tulane's going to be the toughest task that Ole Miss has faced thus far this year. Now, do I expect Ole Miss to lose? Of course I don't. But Ole Miss, they better bring their lunch because Tulane hits pretty hard, according to Spencer Rattler.
All right, and the other is Fresno State at UCLA.
I think this game is going to be fantastic, and you got to wonder, Chip Kelly's team has now, learned what it's like to win while being doubted. But what's it going to be like, now that they're going to have a target on their back, and now that they've heard some good praise and they've been told how good they are? It's very difficult, to be a team because UCLA hasn't had a lot of success in a long time. So, will UCLA be able to handle that success? Will they take themselves? Because Fresno State, they're going to come to play. We know that because that's what they've done every game, whether they've been good or bad. They come and they're ready and they're gonna play their best game.
Yep, I agree.
So UCLA better bring theirs because Fresno State is not a joke. Fresno State nearly knocked off Oregon a couple of weeks ago, and they just dropped 62 on their last opponent. So. Right. This is not a team that you can overlook and take lightly if you're UCLA. I do think UCLA will still win the ball game, but it would not shock me whatsoever if the Bulldogs pulled it off because they are a good team. And unfortunately for them, unlike teams like Cincinnati who are playing really big cupcakes, Fresno State's playing some tough games. And if they might be the best Group of 5 team even with 2 losses.
I agree.
Here in a minute.
I agree, and I'm sure Jay Fields will be thrilled about your assessment there.
You know what? His ass would probably find a way to argue with me about it. All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great week.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share, and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast.
Hi.
Hey.
What are you doing?
I'm seeing if Pike will answer.
What up?
Shannon.
What up?
Hey, I'm at the game.
What's going on? Tell us what's happening.
Oh, he's at the game.
Hey, Washington's 31 on the season, now 3. I got $2,000 on this motherfucker.
How drunk are you right now?
What y'all doing?
We're just sitting here podcasting. We're doing this whole podcast thing that we do. Shannon Russell didn't come on.
Oh, God, come on, Heineke! Woo, come on, give me one, Heineke! Give me one! Oh, God, damn, y'all call it the right time! Y'all call it the right time! Give me that!
I really want to hang out at a game with Justin Pike.
Oh, God, they call it timeout. Doug, Shannon, are you there?
Yes.
This is as close as I'll ever get to watching a game with you.
And, hey, are y'all okay?
Yeah.
God damn, hey, it's a packed house. We ain't worried about COVID. Everybody's got to get their fucking mask
No
on.
COVID.
Roll
No
Tide.
COVID tonight.
Go
Roll
Ole
Tide.
Miss. Hey, Ole Miss is going to fuck. Ole Miss will fuck Alabama up. Hey, I'm at the gate. Hey, can we video this? Oh! Come on! Come on! Give me one, Heineke! Give me one! Give me one, Heineke! Yeah! Are y'all there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We're here.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Justin Pike is thoroughly enjoying himself at the Redskins game. Excuse me, not the Redskins.
I'm at the Redskins.
Washington football.
That may be it.
That was it. Justin will probably wind up calling back. He looks like he's having the time of his life.
Yep, I got some video on it, so we'll.
Yeah, that really happened. That was a real thing. That really happened. Justin Pike is at the Washington football game. His Pike prediction was.
Didn't hear it.
Didn't hear it. I think he did say Roll Tide. I think he did say Hotty Toddy. And there was another team turning there. We'll have to go back. And
he said Ole Miss is going to fuck up Alabama.
Maybe.
But that's not this week. But
that's not this week. That's not this week. The Tulane Green Wave. You feeling good about that Green Wave? Are you?
I don't know. I wouldn't put money on them, but it's definitely an interesting game. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion that somehow that Ole Miss definitely beats Tulane. Tulane has looked good 2 weeks in a row.
They have. And again, we know that Lane is coming in with a slightly improved defense this year. Offensively, they look really good, like alarmingly good.
Yep.
For any team that has to face them for the remainder of the season.
All right. Well, I would say we got a podcast.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one we can put in the books.
Buy the Life Championship T-shirt today for the low price of $23.49. You will never find a shirt like this again in your entire life. So don't be a tightwad. Cheap motherfucker. Buy this shirt today.
You can support this podcast by buying awesome Smacking Off the Podcast merchandise. You can buy our merchandise direct from our Spreadshop store at smackology.myspreadshop.com. Visit it today.